This bale of hay cannot be controlled. When a wildfire raged through Elkhorn Ranch, the sudden loss of pasture became a serious problem for a family business. Faced with horses that needed feeding and a Texas drought that sent hay prices soaring, the owners had to act fast. Thankfully, Mary Miller banks with Chase for Business, and with greater financial clarity and a relationship built for the unexpected, she could control her cash flow and keep the ranch running. Chase for Business, so you can own it.
Floyd Mayweather was a remarkable fighter inside the ring, and he was even smarter on the outside for choosing such a great team.
Floyd Mayweather Jr. calls it a career on the heels of Saturday's unanimous decision victory over Andre Berto. We are making the rounds here on ESPN.com. I am Jim Baswell. So what does 49-0 really mean as he tied Rocky Marciano with that illustrious 49-0 unbeaten record? Let's explore with ESPN boxing historian, boxing contributor, and Hall of Famer Nigel Collins. Nigel, you know all about Rocky Marciano's career. He had 43 KOs among those 49 victories. With 49-0 for Floyd, what does it actually mean when you put it on par with Rocky Marciano?
Not too much, actually, Jim. I mean, Marciano's record isn't really a record other than it's Marciano's, and he's the only heavyweight to accomplish that. But we don't have to go too far back, and we had the great strawweight from Mexico, Ricardo Lopez, who finished his career 51-0 with one draw. So, I mean, it's even if Mayweather fights again and gets that number 50 that beats Marciano's sort of weird record, he's still not going to be the guy who retired undefeated with the most wins. So I think that, in a way, the media is responsible for this. They needed something to write about because it really wasn't much of a match. It was a foregone conclusion that Berto would win. So I think they blew that 49-0 up way past what it's really worth.
A ho-hum fight, if you will, on Saturday. Though, when you look back at the totality of Floyd's career, Nigel, would you say he maximized his potential?
No. He certainly maximized his potential at the bank.
That's very true, very true.
Yeah, he's been brilliant that way. Yeah. And you've got to admit that he has had a marketing business plan, par excellence. Mm-hmm. But really, I think if you look back, you'll see some fighters like Shane Mosley, Oscar De La Hoya, even Manny Pacquiao, that Floyd wisely waited till they were past their prime before he fought them. And to fight with Juan Manuel Marquez, who's another Hall of Fame fighter, the whole weight thing where he actually paid something like $500,000 not to make weight, that's not maximizing your potential. That's trying to cut corners and taking advantage before the first bell rings.
Yeah, Nigel, the thought process is there. He either got a fighter on his way up or on his way down. You know, his career was kind of past his prime, or a fighter that wasn't quite ready for the big stage. When you think back, though, at the era of the Big Four, I'm talking about Leonard, Hearns, Hagler, Duran. If Floyd had fought in that era during that time frame against those type of fighters, how do you suppose he would have fared?
I don't think he'd be retiring undefeated. That's for sure.
I would imagine.
All of these guys fought at different weights throughout their career, and I think actually Floyd was at his best at junior lightweight and lightweight. That means he'd have to go against Duran at lightweight. I think that would be a very tough fight for him, because not only was Duran an aggressive, tough fighter, he also was smart and a good boxer as well. Leonard and Hearns at 147 at welterweight, which was their best weight, I can't see him out-jabbing Tommy Hearns. Mm-hmm. And I think Ray Leonard is probably the best all-round fighter since Ali retired. So I can see both of them beating him. Hagler at 160, we don't even need to talk about that, because it wouldn't really be fair to Floyd. He's not 160-pounder. But if he wanted to take that plunge, it would be an interesting fight. But I don't think he could do what Leonard did to Hagler, because Floyd is not the kind of guy who's going to get aggressive when his back's to the ropes, like Leonard did. So I don't think that, he would have fared well in that era. Is that fair? No, it's not really fair. But being you asked, that's what I think.
Yeah, I be honest, I can't imagine him in the ring with Hagler, Hearns either one of those fighters. But I want to read a quote, Nigel, from Oscar De La Hoya, who, of course, fought Floyd during the course of his career. This was a tweet that Oscar sent out. Now that the worst boxing era is over, let's look forward to the next 10 years. Hashtag Canelo, hashtag Cotto, hashtag Golovkin, and, of course, hashtag Lemieux. That's his guy. Do you suppose Oscar's sentiment is one that's shared by many in this boxing industry?
Well, I don't know about within the industry itself, but I think among the fans, they're starting to get tired of Mayweather's fighting because look, this fight it was a poor opponent. Obviously, the arena was not filled. We don't know the pay-per-view, but I ran a poll on ESPN Boxing's Facebook asking who was going to buy the pay-per-view, and we had about 500 answers, and there might have been half a dozen that were going to buy it. So I think we're really going to have an answer when we get those pay-per-view numbers, especially if they don't release any figures. Then we know it was a disaster.
Nigel, when we look back at Floyd's career, might we look back at it and say, let's take us 2 decades down the road as opposed to the here and now. Might we look back at Floyd's career in a different way in the future as opposed to the here and now?
I think it depends on how you look back. A superficial look that counts only the statistics, I don't think there would be as much criticism because there's probably not as many people around who had to sit through his fights. On the other hand, if you go over his record fight by fight and examine where the fighters were at the time he fought them, and of course the many guys that I think Floyd could have easily knocked out if he wanted to put himself out there and take a few risks, then you would have a similar opinion to today. But time has a way of washing away the details. And
yeah, it does.
A starring or somebody's really into it. So I wouldn't be surprised that, superficially at least, that history will treat him more kindly than his current critics.
That's ESPN boxing contributor, boxing historian, and Hall of Famer Nigel Collins. And that's a look back at Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s 49th victory. He finishes his career unbeaten, matching Rocky Marciano. We are making the rounds only in the boxing page of ESPN.com. For Nigel Collins, I'm Jim Baskel. Thanks for watching.